All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. Welcome back to another chat stream. I've been good. Hopefully, you guys have been good as well. Welcome back. Last time we streamed, I believe it was the Monday. We were talking about I was coming back up with a tiny bit towards about 107k, and then maybe going back down again. And obviously, we've kind of done that. We've not done it exactly how I wanted it to go. And I have something to talk about on the high time frames related to kind of previous price action, what we're doing now in terms of directional thinking, if you will. So we'll see how it goes. I know we're at 98k, whatever, at 99k, wherever we are right now on Bitcoin. I don't think it's all over. Obviously, I know some people are probably thinking, "Oh my God, here we come, 60k, here we come." Hold on, let's just slow it down a bit. Before I do, let me start a timer. And I've challenged myself today. Okay, so we have a clipping software where it goes for the stream and finds all the greatest clips of what I say during the stream, and we post them online, and engagement and whatnot. Now, one of the issues I have is I say and all these connecting words as a subconscious way to indicate to the listener that I am still talking. I'm just thinking. It comes from real life. You sometimes you're talking and someone interrupts you, and then it's kind of like, well, I was still thinking then, but just because I was silent doesn't mean I've sort of finished. I've finished and stopped speaking. I don't need to do that on the stream. So, and it ruins the clips, and we need to cut them out. So I'm going to challenge myself tonight to not say once, and we'll see how it goes. And if I have the urge to say a connecting word or an adjoining phrase like that, then I will just silence myself. It's okay during the intro because that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be doing it during the charts. So anyway, let me read the chat first. We're not on Square tonight because it didn't work. Flaky streaming platform. It doesn't work, unfortunately. It's been working good as far, which has been nice, but it's broken today. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm only on YouTube, so giving to you or giving to KB. Mike's in the chat. Bane is here. Is it known what is happening with these winners? Did they receive awards? I am one of them, but I have not received anything yet. Yeah, as Mike was saying as well, normally message in Telegram, but sometimes some people can't message in Telegrams, and occasionally we'll do X as well. So if you message on X, we can do that. Yeah. So as Mike said as well. I did it quite a bit during our streams. Yeah, it's just a natural thing. It's just a natural speaking thing. I can't really, it's something I just do naturally. But I'm gonna see how many I can limit myself to do, and see how many I can stop myself from doing. Like that. Okay. It's gonna be hard. I really know it's gonna be hard because it's like going from 0 to hero. It's just gonna be a complete shift of my linguistic manner, if you will. Okay, so yeah, Bane's just sorting out, whatever. Anyway, going on to the actual meat of the stream. Obviously, we've come down 98k. I'm going to start to do the pausing now. So you might notice I'll have some big pauses. It's just me continuing to think. We have $661 million liquidated in the past 24 hours. Most of that was long, 533 million. Some in short as well, obviously, as we have these little moves back upwards for people who are trying to get in, as the move's going down, probably high leverage, whatever, getting liquidated on the way back upwards. Okay, this is really, really going to be hard. I didn't realize how hard it was going to be. I thought Mike told me this earlier today. I thought this is easy. I'm just going to not say It's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Okay, fine. So we know what liquidations are. Great. I want to go to the market calendar now. Maybe if I enunciate my words. This is not the one I want to do, actually, I don't think. I like this one. I like this one. I need to really control my words. So, what do we have coming up is what I want to know. I remember looking at this last stream and remembering there was something during the week. Now, I think it is Friday. No, that's not very important. No one really cares about that. I think it was... There we go. Let's see what there was. I swear I saw something of interest. PPI... No one really... I guess it might matter. It doesn't really matter. There's nothing really going on. It doesn't matter. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Nothing going on. Great. So, where are we? 98,265. Pretty down on Bitcoin right now. Nearly 3% down 24 hour. 3.18% on the 7-day. So a pretty hefty move down so far. Ethereum, 3,178, 6.8% down on the 24 hour, 4.58% on the 7-day. I haven't actually looked at anything other than Bitcoin off stream. I did it again. Okay. I haven't looked at anything other than Bitcoin off stream. I don't need to control myself because there's no clips here. It doesn't matter. So Solana 142.17, pretty low. I think the general gist has been I want it to come up to XYZ price and then I want it to come down. Now I know Bitcoin. I think it was like 107.5. I think it was like 107.2. I can't remember exactly what price it was. We were in earshot of the minimum price, so we didn't hit it. And I'm going to talk about that when we go onto the charts. I am going to talk about it, but we were kind of like out by a tiny bit. But again, we'll talk about it. Obviously, we're going to get into it. So I stopped myself then successfully. Syrup. We are 43.66. Syrup I'm pretty happy with so far, I believe. We are obviously going upwards. We did break up a bit, and then we came down. And we've done a higher low, I believe, and we're kind of coming upwards. I think across the board for Syrup, I'm pretty happy with how it's going upwards. This is really hard. This is really hard. I'm really happy with how it's going upwards, and we've talked about how positive I am on the weekly and how I want it to go upwards in the future, long-term future for Syrup. CRO. Obviously, not happy with CRO. I never was happy with CRO. Most of the move was pretty circumstantial. We had a move which occurred from us being, when I say us, I mean CRO, being in the limelight of the American system, which was being implemented for treasury, or reserves, I should say, for certain cryptocurrencies, and CRO was mentioned as a main cryptocurrency to be held and bought and implemented into certain Truth Social Network-esque things and the government as a whole, and it was very positive. It was very circumstantial. It was very I say the word external in the sense of it wasn't really a fundamental, oh, here we go, we are supposed to go up right now. There is fundamental reason we should be going upwards. Fundamentally, the coin is growing to XYZ format. We are actually going upwards. And it was more so of a, oh my God, we've just been mentioned by the US government. Let's go from 6 cents to 32 cents. You know what I mean? So I'm not surprised we have to recover majoritively all of the move we had upwards. So I'm not very surprised we're going down to 11.8. But obviously, I've had my prices. I still talked about the coin as if it was any normal day for price action. Towards 20 cent was the first target, and we've continued to go downwards as things have been continuously negative across the board. Anyway, no one cares. Let's go on to the actual charts. And this is where I really need to focus here. I'm going to take a sip of water. And we are going to talk about the charts. And I'm not going to say I'm not going to say So, as we can see, the current price is below previous lows at 98,950, 98,597 right now. What I want to talk about before we get into before we get into the current scenario for the charts is the difference between successful retracements minimally and potential retracements which haven't fully yet been done. Case in point. No. This one. We had this move down. Okay. It then resulted in us coming upwards, finding our highs. Brilliant. Now, what's the logic here, in my opinion? Okay, this is all opinion. This isn't financial advice. My opinion is we need to come down to at least 50%. Okay. Now, I want to show this scenario. I'm talking very slowly here, so I don't mess up. In this scenario, we had this gap. Obviously, there was potential to not continue to go downwards, and not go to 50%, which I think is something we should bear in mind. I think is something which should be played into context where, like, okay, if there's clearly an area where we don't really want to see lower than, or an area where there's clearly going to be a stopping point, then we shouldn't really bank onto the idea that, oh yeah, we're definitely going to go to 50%. It's not 100%. Nothing with ever really is in trading 100% win rate, success rate, strategy. But what I want to highlight realistically, and this might be circumstantial, you might think one thing and I might think one other thing, but this is what it is. And there's another thing I'm actually going to mention now as we're moving past this low, which is something very important. we have this move, which moved from the low to the high, and then we move back downwards towards 111,830. But importantly, we didn't hit that midpoint, okay? Which is what we want to do. But we can continue to hold this low to the high until we see that. So we can shift this high to here. And then we can see, we then eventually hit into this area and then go upwards towards the high again. Where then, obviously, we can try and look for this. Now, interestingly with this, obviously, we came upwards and then we came downwards again. In this case, we didn't really have a scenario too bad, but we can see we had the high with the low. We had this move, which didn't really print higher, and then we printed through this low here. So in this case, it was kind of very negative, so we want to kind of look here for a low to a high scenario, and then we saw this come back to the midpoint, which is great, and then we want to see it go past that low. We didn't see that. We came upwards. Okay, we didn't see it come upwards. Importantly as well, what I should mention is we had reason to stop. And this is the thing, this is why you want to look at the weekly, so you want to look at different time frames, high and or low. Just to really make sure you know what's going on not just the daily, but also maybe on the weekly or the monthly. I think in this case we had, I did it again. We had the weekly hit here. We had this top end at 108 area. We had a stopping reason to stop here, and then come upwards one more time on the weekly idea. Okay, so it made sense. We stopped there on a high time frame, reason, point of interest, whatever. So we stopped there. We came up one more time in this move. So we continued downwards. We continued to reverse, came back upwards, did this high. We did our high. We came downwards, and then Trump gave us a nice little helping hand with making it a bit faster to move downwards. I think importantly with this as well was this reason here on the weekly, which was we came past our previous high 124 and we wicked twice here. What I will say, we also did this the other time, but we had previous support points. We had previous support here. So we came upwards, we did that again. And I think importantly with this, we printed positive in this candle and then dumped and printed negative with this. So this obviously formed resistance here. Let me just scratch my leg. In this area here. Just about 111 and above. Obviously, in this case, on the weekly it's going to look a bit more drastic than it would be on the daily, for example, and so on and so forth. So we did have reason there on the weekly that this is going to be resistance area. So anything above 111, 680, which as we would go to lower time frames, we would try and find different areas to find reason to stop in. And you know what I mean? It's just as soon as we come above 111, 681, it would be a sign to say, okay, we're in a high time frame resistance. We want to look at what we're doing right now. And if it aligns, so for example, weeklies, we're in a point of resistance. Daily, we're in a point of resistance on the 4 hour. If we find a gap or XYZ, we know we are preemptively negative. So we should be able to bank on that. You know, obviously not financial advice or anything like that, but I don't know why I'm saying not financial advice, because this isn't actual. I'm not actually giving any prices, but in the sense that, you know, we should be able to preempt the idea that we should continue back downwards based on what we have on the higher time frames. Anyway, so to kind of bring this forward with that idea of we can have these scenarios, I want to kind of look at this. So in the scenario where we've been negative, we've kind of been printing downwards and whatnot. We've obviously wicked past this high. We didn't print. We continued downwards, printed past this previous low here, and then that was successful. Brilliant. So in this case, we want to look from the high to low again. You know, obviously it was here. We can do wherever. It was technically here. We came as high as there. We then eventually saw our high. We did see one here. We did talk about this obviously, but there was a lot of the massive kind of area here on the lower time frames, as we saw with the 4 hour and whatnot on the lower time frames. This was as much as you may say, oh, you know, this comes before this or this and that, the other, and you know, nothing's ever outside of the charts. Again, this was, I think, accentuated by what happened during this period. I think what would have happened, I think this move down would have happened anyway, but I think it accentuated the move in this period on Friday. You know, we had this move, again, coming past this high here on the weekly and not seeing a print and seeing us print negative and start to come downwards anyway, or print below the high and start to reverse. I was already, even the lower time frames, I believe we already had a reversal. We already had a reversal here. I was already talking about us coming down in this phase. I believe it might have been on the Tuesday, or maybe on the Thursday. I'm not sure if it's the Thursday or the Tuesday. We talked about this move as we were talking about it. I was saying we had this reversal, and I was saying, well, we've had a very clean reversal right now. We've respected, you know, we've printed through this low. We've actually come through this gap, and we've actually used it as resistance and continued downwards. Obviously, in this case, talking on Thursday time, we've actually used this as a low. We've actually reversed properly. We should be aiming downwards. Now, what I will say is, I was talking more about in the responsive over here. I will admit that we did have a bit of a drastic move, but in terms of the directional understanding, we already were going to come down anyway. So that was fine. But I think the accentuation of that kind of caused somewhat of a difference in normalization of how we would have moved anyway. However, doesn't matter because we had the high to the low and we had the equilibrium. So this is fine. So this is null and void. Now we can look at this. So what I will say here, and this is the reason I've been spending so long talking about this and kind of giving an overarching, oh, well, we had it this time, why can't we do it this time kind of idea, where we've looked previously at a scenario where this has happened and what's the outcome of that, and trying to forward test that, if you will, and go, okay, well, this can happen, we can know this happens, so can it happen again? In the sense that we've had that move where this is now here, we've had the high to the low, and I was talking about 107. I was talking more about this gap. I was talking on yesterday's Monday stream, like, okay, I want to come to about 107k, you know, at least into the start of this gap area. Obviously, we had the 107, we had this low being resistance, and what I will admit is we had a lot of resistance where we are. So on the sense that we had this gap here, this was quite a big gap, printing above highs in this move. So this was a very strong gap here, which obviously we then used. Same sense here where I can understand why we wouldn't have got up above equilibrium. However, we still want to apply the same ideology where we haven't quite gone into this area. This is still outstanding here, which could be a good area to target. And importantly as well, now we're actually doing this, the first target I had was this, or not the first target, but in terms of the minimum low. The minimum low I had of all this move was going to be 98,174. Just below the equilibrium, coming into this previous area, in this tiny little area, just coming past this low of this order block. The minimum. Now, I said in terms of confidence of it stopping here, you know, we could see that. This is also the low of this support point. We could see it stop at the actual low and print at it and come back upwards again. There are plentiful, you know, different reasons we could see it go back upwards from here, whether it be taking the low or just printing at the low of the support point, whatever. But the minimum I had was this low. So even if we don't see this as the max low, we continue to go downwards, at least it would be an area to target. On previous price action, what's it going to be? Previous gaps, previous, you know, breaker blocks in this case, or previous lows in the move upwards. So as we can see in this kind of checklist, you know, we've had order blocks, we've had gaps, for example, with this here, we've had order blocks, we have had previous lows as well. You know, it's kind of just normal procedure here. Same as this, it's like, okay, in the move down, where are you looking? You're not looking forward. As you're moving down, you're not looking forward, you're looking backwards. So you're looking at previous price action, you're looking at where could you enter in these, or not enter in this case, but in terms of relative to previous price action, where are you actually going to find support? So it's going to be in previous areas back here. So same ideology here. You know, it's going to be lows, it's going to be gaps, it's going to be breaker blocks in this case, or in this case, an order block, or could be a breaker block. Either way. So in that case, is like the minimum criteria would be something below equilibrium at this one of many reasons, which could be our previous low. Now, I don't think this would be a permanent low. I don't think this would be a permanent reversal area. It has been reversal areas, but I did it again. But it has validity to go back upwards, and especially on the weekly. This is a higher time frame, or it counts on all time frames. You know, as soon as we go below it, this is kind of criteria. This is starting to roll into the reason that we are doing this. However, it is a low formed majority on the weekly. This is a high time frame low. This is a high time frame point of interest in my argument. So even if this isn't the permanent low of Bitcoin, and we have seen the low of Bitcoin, we're going to 140k, I still think we could stop here and go back upwards. For two reasons, like I've said, we've had this low. This was the minimum low. I do think we could see some sort of support here, some sort of reversal point. However, we have also seen the high to a low. I know it's very messy. I do apologize. We've seen the high to a low. We've obviously saw resistance here. We had previous resistance in this case. We saw it stop here. You can see pretty cleanly we stopped here with this previous. It was support. We then reversed it. We then found resistance. We had propulsion blocks in this area. We found a whole lot of resistance here. Now, I wanted it to come a bit higher towards this area, but obviously we didn't. The two main areas were this gap here and then 107 on the daily time frame. Now, this gap here was for the 4-hour range. And what I will say is we did fulfill the 4-hour range with the high to the low. We came above that equilibrium to fill this gap. Obviously, found a bit higher towards previous resistances here, but a good sell area at least in 105, 105k, 105.5 here. Obviously, we did come as high as 107. We didn't quite hit that equilibrium there. We were about, how many? We were about, you know, $200 off. I do think we can go high. So we did miss that area. It could be misalignment. It could be other reasons. But I would be interested to see if we can go upwards again. Now, what I will say is, like I said, even if, oh, well, we're close enough to 0.5, we might as well just see it. I still think we can go higher just based on the fact that we're coming past this low. This could be a good sweep area for reversal. Not only have we taken multiple lows on our previous low here, where the only logical thing now, even if we weren't taking this low, what I would say is, okay, we've had our high to a low, we've had our high, we're having a new low, we're going to see us go back upwards. So regardless of what I was saying, regardless of where we're going to go to, I do think we're going to go back upwards. Whether that be because we're taking 98.9 or because we're taking 98.150. Either way, I would say we go back upwards. So in that case, it's then where we're going to go to. So what do we have here? We don't really have anything in this price section. We have maybe previous resistance formed here. We have, obviously, we use this area to support this rejection block here. But other than that, we don't really have anything. We do have the midpoint of this order block. If we were to print past this low, I would definitely see that as some sort of resistance point we could focus on. Again, we have used it as support previously. Other than that, though, I do think in our previous price action, the high is the most important areas are going to be this candle here at 105. This will be a order block here. We can see, even though we didn't get to 107.680, we did come into this gap area. We did come into this previous resistance on the 4-hour, and we have come back downwards from this area, coming from this green area. It should be, realistically, this whole area, but I'm going to say the highest area, roughly into the midpoint of it. It should be this. It should be these two up-close candles to see that down move, okay? But I will say, somewhere in that area. Additionally, actually, we also have this inverted gap here, which we have used previously. So I would rather aim towards a bit higher at about 104.250. We do have resistance in this area, I will say. Okay. Now, obviously, if we were to say this was a perfect price action scenario, and we were going to see it come down to wherever we're going to go to, let's say towards, again, somewhere towards here. This is actually an interesting balanced price range here, about 95k. We have this move upwards. We came back downwards again. We reversed it, then used this gap here with this little wick, and then continued back upwards. So we could have something in this area, let's say, coming past this low. I mean, we could see a low here. I mean, that's not to write that off, but in terms of where we go to, this isn't a very low. This isn't a very big low. We've only just come past it, so I could expect it to go a bit faster, or a bit further down, as I should say, towards some sort of area about, let's say, 95.7, 96k. But from there, let's just give an example. Even from where we are right now, that high is going to be into that area here at 104. So relative to the 4-hour time frame, relative to what we've had there, we could see something resistant at 104. However, what I'm interested in doing is seeing to move this low past, as we've done previously back here, to find our low and find the equilibrium come a bit higher towards 10, let's say 108. I think for me it would be something towards this area. Okay, so we have these green candles, and this is what I was saying back here, is it's the series of down to the series of up. You know, it's a series. It's not just 1 to 1. It can be a series. It can be 2 down for this recovery. I'm explaining this horribly. In the sense of, we had this down move which comes past these lows, okay? So it is this whole down move. And it's the whole move upwards which kind of prints past these candles. So we can see this move upwards prints past these two. So it can go as high as there. We also have an inverted gap here, actually. Which we can see we printed through, used it, kind of printed through. We then came back up into this little candle. Anyway, apologies. I need to have some sort of repercussions to stopping me saying the phrase which shall not be said. Why is this so thin? Oh, whatever, I'll just do this. So we can see the midpoint area of this is also roughly about onto that 108 area, which if we go to the daily, we can see it a bit clearer into this range. We have about 108 here. So I think 108 could be a good target, around about 108. So even though it's like a shtick, it's like being a stickler, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's such a minimum there we go. It's such a minimum miss that I've seen scenarios before we've done this and we haven't gone back to it, but you know, it's I want to see us go back to it. You know, I want to see, and I could be wrong, but I'm gonna edge onto the fact of we're gonna be doing this, onto being a stickler for going towards that equilibrium. And we have a very clear area of resistance. We have that 4-hour gap order block, I should say. Here at about 108, we have the midpoint. We have this whole gap area 108 above equilibrium. I want to see go there, and we have this previous high, which could be a very good target to aim for. And either way, even if we print lower and come upwards and come to this high, it doesn't matter if we just wick past it. We could print at 105 and wick past it to 108. It doesn't matter, because the minimum we have to do is basically wick past that high. So the likely chance we print past that and kind of force a move upwards is pretty low. So I do still think it can lead into us continuing back downwards. But I think either way, whatever way you look at it, we've printed past this low, we've printed past this low, we've wicked past this low. We are clearly going downwards. We haven't really slowed down. We did have some wicks here. Yes, I will say that. But we did print past this low. And as soon as we print past that low, what am I going to be aiming for is going back upwards. And that's just how it is. And that's what I've been saying. And that's just what it is. Okay. So I don't care that as soon as we got past this low, we saw wicks and we stopped moving. Number one, we had this daily order block here at the low, which we saw us stop at. But the logical sense of a down move should be we see a new low and then we go back upwards. So the criteria is we see that move down to final low. We then print that low wherever it's going to be. The only way it can really go, the only way we can tell about that is going to be previous price action. And then we go back upwards to final lower high. So then we look at previous price action we just did in this move downwards, or previous price action in the entire move downwards, to find that area to stop at. We find that high, we continue back downwards. So it's just standard procedure, really. So on the wider area, we have this move, let's say. Obviously, we have these little mini moves. We have this massive move. We've printed past this low. Clear as day. And we've done a high. We've done a really pathetic high, which hasn't really done a main high yet, and we've come down. I think it's us wicking past these lows, coming back upwards, and then coming back downwards again. That's really what I think it's. I'm going to draw this, actually. I'm going to keep that on the chart, just to see what it's going to be. There you go. So that's kind of what I'm feeling. Anyway, let's go to a new chart. Let's see. And again, like I said, I haven't actually looked at anything other than a Bitcoin when it comes to the charts. Now, interestingly, we've actually hit, and this is where my interest lies. Where am I being too much of a stickler to get to exactly equilibrium, or should I just look at what has formed within the range of equilibrium? Now, this is a personal argument, and this is something I will find out in due course as we move to Saturday. Actually, I should read the chat. Check the DOM ladder for Bitcoin. I don't think I've ever looked at the DOM ladder on stream. I'll do my on my charts and then I'll look. How about that? So again, this is a personal battle I need to just have experience in. You know, some of these like edge cases where it's like, am I too harsh on a certain criteria? You know what I mean? So I think this is something, again, like I said, I'm going to find out during the process of us moving from where we are now to potentially 108k or whatever it's going to be exactly into Saturday time, into Monday time, XYZ, right? So, and this is why I'm having this argument, because on Ethereum, we've actually, technically, the start of this gap was above equilibrium. As we tickled into that equilibrium, I came right back down. It was literally the most minimum move we could have potentially done ever in our lives. And we technically did come into the gap, and we technically did come down from it. And obviously, we had this previous area here, you know, in each weekly candle, coming into each weekly candle, having these areas where we have these candles continuously back down. And yes, we can form these gaps, but on the normality of each candle being not recovering per se, but you know, we have these down moves which have this move upwards, move downwards. We kind of come past here with this move here. You know what I mean? So coming past this candle, again, I don't really care about what's happened over here. I care about this, okay? We've had this move down, this candle. We get a wick back upwards and come downwards again. But it's arbitrary. You know what? I'm not even bothered talking about it. It's arbitrary. It doesn't matter. Okay. Let's just go back to the daily. Let's just not even bother talking about what I just talked about. What we have now, interestingly, with Ethereum, my long-term target was going to be round about 2,900, 2,800 into this area. My main one is going to be as low as, you know, coming into this area. Actually, what I should probably look at is, okay. Yeah, I mean, 2,900 is probably a good area. I mean, if you go to the daily, we had this previous area, like support on the weekly, this down, close into this gap, move upwards. This is going to be a massive support area in 2,600, 2,700 area, I should probably say, into this gap. Okay, so this is massive support. We are very close. I mean, we're not exactly there, but we're getting quite a way down, close to this area. You know, we've had this low to the high between this, you know, we had this move down, move high, move down, move high, and then we kind of moved down, came into this area, and then moved upwards again to form this massive move upwards. And then we didn't really come back downwards. I'm just gonna take it slowly, okay? We had the low to the high here. And logically, from that print high, we want to see it come downwards to find a higher low. Now, what stopped us going upwards, I definitely think, was us wicking past this high. We didn't print. Not a very good sign for a higher time frame move upwards. We then moved back downwards. but locally to the actual trend, we are still in an uptrend, so I don't really care if we wick past it or not. It was just a good indicator for us on this higher weekly time frame to say, okay, we've whipped past this high, we haven't printed, we're probably going to come down now. This is probably just a bit of a negative thing for Ethereum. But like I said, we're getting very close to the minimum area. Now, minimum area was at least taking some of these lows at 3,300. We've been there, done that. Coming into fill this gap, 3,030, pretty much been there, done that. And then maximum was going to be, I mean, same how we have with Ethereum or Bitcoin, where we have like 86k at the order block plus the gap. Same thing here. We have this order block plus the gap at about 2,700 in this gap. That's like the kind of optimum area. That's like the deepest, strongest area I think we have for Ethereum. We're getting there, obviously. So going to the floor, I want to look at recent price action to see what we're doing. We did hit into that gap area. We did actually hit into this. We had previous resistance. I believe I talked about this previous resistance. Either way, we have the midpoint. And this is very important here. This is very, very important. This was Monday. This is actually, we basically already talked about this. Very, very important here. So we had previous order block here. We've talked about, we've used it previously. Printed through it very strong. Like we're trying to do now on Bitcoin on the daily, not the 4 hour. We can see we've retraced back upwards, hit this midpoint area pretty much exactly. You know, not pretty much exactly, but pretty nicely. Printed at the midpoint pretty nicely. Found resistance at the order block. Or now a breaker block, and it starts to reverse. Pretty beautiful. I can't remember what this yellow area is. I think it was a gap. Okay, so we printed up it. We tried to reverse it. Tried to use it, but we're at high time from resistance. We're in a downtrend while we're going to be using a reversal for support. We then reversed, printed past this. It doesn't really matter. Came downwards, whatever. We just continue back downwards. You can see, used that midpoint, came downwards. Used the bottom of it here, and it came downwards. So we really just used this area. Midpoint and then low of it. So we've had really nice price action. So, and this is where the balance comes in between, am I too much of a stickler for midpoints or not? Is because the Bitcoin hasn't done that, and it is coming down. But to be fair though, it could be a sense that Ethereum's low is so far low. But actually, it's not even exactly on it. There we go. Ethereum's low is actually quite low, that the equilibrium was brought down quite a far bit lower, that it was able to hit it technically. But as we see with Bitcoin, we've already come past that low, and Ethereum, we're not even there yet. However, I do think we are going to get there again. We can see we've reversed this area again one more time. We then use it as resistance. Obviously, we have this order block. We use it as resistance, come downwards, massive gaps on the way downwards. All these things, okay? We are coming downwards for this. I wouldn't even be surprised. Again, we've had this reversal, last high to the low, coming into this area. It's going to be recovering somewhere towards about 3,400. We probably have, apologies. We probably have something in this area again. For example, we have this up into a previous resistance coming downwards. This will be a area of resistance, I will say. What I will say is we have this here anywhere at least towards 3,373. 3,375. We have resistance in Ethereum, I should say. So we haven't hit this low yet, but I will probably suspect we could come back upwards to some extent to find a high before we continue back downwards. It would be nice to see that. I mean, again, if we continue right back downwards, great, whatever. All it would be then for me would be finding that low, find that retracement. It would be anywhere in this case. I think we're having a very nice, strong move. If we look at every time we've gone down, it's been, versus every time we've gone upwards, it's been pretty good to indicate we're having a great move downwards on the high time for Ethereum. Again, really sharp move downwards, slow retrace, very sharp move downwards. I mean, a decent retrace, very slow though. And then we're having this start to this move downwards. So very, very strong as well, I should say. I mean, these are the biggest gaps I've seen until this last move downwards. You know, we haven't really seen many of these gaps of this stature in any of these moves upwards, really. I mean, this one's slightly good, but whatever. But I do think it will be regardless of if we come here now or later, it will be a good scenario to find a lower high. So I think Ethereum is continuing back downwards. We could potentially see some sort of support if we can continue a bit lower. And like I said, I think Bitcoin, it doesn't necessarily have to find its low here right now. Like I said, with a 96k area, we could see wherever we see this low at right now, whether it be right now or a bit lower, will eventually go back up. But I think the same with Ethereum. We might not have seen our low yet. I think in that case, if we can come a bit lower, we could print past this low, actually see this down move continue. In the sense of we've had that high to a low, we've had that high to a low, we've had that this high to low here, we've had that equilibrium, we should see this low here. Normal, okay. So I think we can continue to do that. So maybe a tiny bit more down for Ethereum, but I think in the move we've had on the way downwards, it would be, this area here, let's say, coming towards about this low. This whole area we've had on the way down is just one massive, great big area to find a lower high in. So I do think Ethereum can find a lower high in the range of 3,400. But very similar to Bitcoin, though, we do have a scenario where we have this big old gap, which on the daily, like Bitcoin has with 107, 108k, that we haven't really touched into yet. Where is this equilibrium actually going to be where we're going to see our stopping point at? So if we don't print past this low, and this is the thing, it's like, what the criteria of this is, we need to hit this, we need to find at least above the midpoint, find that low, find a reason to stop, and then go downwards, and then print past that low. And if we don't do that, then we're probably going to go back upwards again. So we need to see it come past this low at least before anything is set in stone. But I think I would like to see it come towards this low. I think we would probably, as the speed we're going at, I think we will come past this low. And same thing I said on Bitcoin, the context of what we had with this resistance is we already were in this major resistance area with this daily order block here. I believe it's the daily order block, or maybe daily order block. Same we had with Bitcoin. We had a lot of different resistances at that area at 107.5, 107.6. So even though we didn't hit equilibrium, we had a lot of reason to stop going upwards. So, you know what I mean? The equilibrium, it's, again, nothing's ever set in stone. It's normally just a criteria to help gauge whether you should be in an area to sell at or an area to buy at. But when you have that much resistance, like on Bitcoin, it could be a scenario where we just don't go back upwards. But, I mean, same thing we had with Bitcoin. When we had it go upwards towards its all-time high, we had it go downwards to the gap and go back up its all-time high. But I think what helped there was we wicked past the all-time high again, and we didn't print, and we start to reverse. So maybe that helped us to go downwards. If we didn't do that, maybe we would have never seen it do a lower high, or lower low. So maybe it's context. So again, like I said, we'll see on Saturday, we'll see into Monday whenever it stops. But I do think Ethereum could maybe potentially get towards its low, see it print past that, continue the formation we are doing, or continue the formation, the trend, whatever. What I will say as well is we're kind of. We don't really have a lot of this price. We've already kind of visited this price action previously with this move. I think the what to look at in this move downwards, where to stop at, is going to be pre-price action, which is either going to be coming past the lows or maybe rejection block of some sort. You know what I mean? So there is really like, is that going to be where we're going to focus on? Is this really going to be what stops us from going downwards, or we just continue back downwards? Because again, this has been a very sharp move downwards. We've moved down 11% in the space of 12 hours. You know what I mean? So we've moved down very heavy, very heavy. So we're going to see, at any point, we're going to see some sort of recovery of this. We've already printed negative. We've already printed downtrendedly in the 4 hour, or on the 4 hour. So I should expect this to continue back downwards unless we have a massive reversal. So even if we go back upwards now, this is a very strong move downwards. I should expect this to continue back downwards to hit towards 3,060. We'll see how it goes, obviously. But from there, if we do hit into these areas, it would be a scenario where we will need to see where that low is, and then we need to see where the high is going to be in this sense. So, and from there, we don't really have much on the weekly. We have a tiny little gap here on the weekly. We don't really have much when it comes to the weekly. You know, we've been moving pretty efficiently. Once again, I can't help it. I challenge myself and I failed. I think we do have this gap. We have filled it here. Will it stop us? Again, we have the high to the low in terms of the equilibrium. I should probably put it there, actually. This is where I put it last time. I should probably put it here, actually. I mean, this is really where it's going to be. But either way, it's all the equilibrium is low. It is coming to that area. I could do here. I haven't really done here. I could do here. Again, it doesn't really matter. Whatever. I'll just do it from the high to low. It doesn't matter. Equilibrium. Either way, we're in the equilibrium. I think it's still going to be around 2,700. So even though we've hit this, I do think we need to go a bit lower. Even though we could be at areas where we could see support, aka at this 3,027. I do think we want to see lower for big Ethereum. And whether this be something you disagree with or not, is opinion. We'll see. I've kind of exhausted all I can say about Ethereum. It's really a lot of the stream is going to be me talking about what we've already talked about on Monday. So it's kind of an exhaustive stream where we've just really going over what we've already talked about. So not too much to say there, apart from us continuing back down towards our lows. Let's see. Solana, how do we do? I don't actually remember what I've drawn too much. I had a blue line there. What's this blue line for? Oh, right. Okay. Tuesday. Okay. So Monday would have been here. Okay. So we have... I'm disappointing myself. I can't help doing it. Okay. So with Solana's case, it's the same as Bitcoin's in the sense of we have obviously this high to low where we've already seen it perfectly. We have the most recent highs and most recent low of this move where we didn't see that equilibrium and yet we've come downwards. So is it a sense where, yes, we did come into this gap, and same thing with Bitcoin, it's the balance between am I too much of a stickler? Because we have come into this gap, we have started to come into finding a potential resistance area, but we haven't seen that equilibrium. So do we want to see it again? Well, obviously in this case, we've come past our lows, and we are coming into potential areas. I think we have something here, potentially. We had, we did have this area. We did have this area on Solana. Okay. Oh no, it was this one, wasn't it? Yeah. So we had this previous support. We had this support area. We have a support area here. So let me just draw this out. So we are coming into 147, 141. We are coming to areas of support, and we've just come past our weekly low here. Obviously, this weekly low being here. So we are a very negative area for Solana, and the fact we haven't seen that equilibrium. Are we going to want to see higher? Potentially, yes. And that's going to be towards 175. So I will still stick on the grounds of 175 on the basis that we have not seen anywhere near equilibrium. And again, it depends on what we see coming into Saturday and Monday. Am I too much of a stickler? Is this a valid area to stop at? And is this just going to be a scenario where we see a high to low somewhere around here, 140, whatever, and see it find resistance here? Well, there's not really too much. I mean, there's a gap at 162, I suppose. But where are we really going to see? Where are we really going to see? Is the question. So we are coming quite low, and on the weekly as well, I will say we have a decent gap here. We do have quite a decent gap formed for resistance, and I do think we could come lower into this area. Again, importantly, we could start to try and print through this low. I think this will be very important as well. We had this support we've used previously. Here again, coming to this midpoint quite a few times on the weekly. We have come through it at 155.80. We could print through this. If we do this, same as we saw with Ethereum on the daily, this is on the weekly obviously, is if we print through this, this will now be resistance. This will be a resistance point towards the central point, the equilibrium of the area, about 175.53. We literally just saw this with Ethereum. So we have a gap here on the weekly, and we have a midpoint at 175. We've just come past this weekly low here, which is normal to go downwards, and we are in a support point now. So, and we've also missed the daily equilibrium range. So what makes more sense is I want to see it come into the massive range of I want to see it come into this daily. Again, we've missed the equilibrium by a long shot. So I think it's very safe to say, considering all we have breaker block on daily, we have weekly resistance at the midpoint, we have a massive gap on the weekly, we have a massive gap on the daily, we have so much resistance at 175.50 on Solana that I think we can come back to here. So if we do see this come past this low, we do see it print past where we are right now in this relative time frame coming into Saturday, Monday time, I do think we can go back upwards for Solana towards about 175, let's say. Obviously we'll see, not financial advice, but I do definitely think that can happen. Again, like I said, this stream's definitely going to be one where we're just chart in review. It's not really going to be a scenario where we see much of me talking about new things happening. Again, coming past lows, printing, finding retracements, that's normal, okay? This is just normal as what we've talked about already on Monday. So again, we'll see how it goes, but I do think it's going to take some time to happen. We'll see what happens on Saturday, we'll see what happens on Monday. But I think structurally, if we print past this low, which we'll be doing, if we continue to do that on the weekly time frame, printing past this low on the general resistance we have on the weekly, then I would expect it to find resistance there and continue back upwards. So it'll take some time to happen. So I do think we'll sit in this area for a bit, potentially into about 142 where we are right now. There's not really much I'm seeing relative apart from this support we have in this area. Oh, actually, we didn't really print for it. Actually, now I'm saying it, we didn't really print for it here. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, yeah. I didn't actually draw this out because it's not really that good, because we didn't actually do it here. We did come back down into this one when we did this little candle and come upwards, and then we used it. So actually, it's not even this one, it's actually more this one. So that's actually going to be about 120. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to come to this, but we have support again. We have support as high as 147.34. So that's going to be the daily time frames. Like, okay, well, we have this. Where are we going to see it in here? There's not much for Solana. I'm not going to say previous price action. we've already recovered previous areas. We've already done most of our price action. It could be us wicking past 125. We have some lows here at 145. We don't really have much. There's not really much going on in terms of previous price action of Solana until about 126 towards into midpoint of this support. Here we don't really have much. So I do think Solana has a bit of not really much ground to sit at in terms of what we have. And again, I think Solana obviously was very negative in this area as well, as we have with Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think the difference was this was a very easy thing to move past. Again, we move past these lows, great. There's not really much here. There's nothing apart from maybe lows. I mean, again, obviously I've been toying with the idea of previous gaps being continued to be used as support. Let's see. I mean, we are coming into this area, I suppose. Actually, what I will argue, to be fair, on the daily, is we do have this gap. We did use it in print higher in here. We can see we use this actually. Now that I'm really looking at it, we have this candle here, which we can see prints upwards and then gets used pretty nicely here as support. So you can see if we move across, we did use it support. Maybe we can try to use the midpoint. Maybe we can come back up towards 160 before moving down again, I suppose. But I don't know. I guess we'll see where we see that low at. But we are moving pretty negative right now for Solana, so I'll keep that drawn. But I'm not holding too much confidence on that at all. So we'll see how it goes. But I definitely think, regardless of where we see that low, I want to see that retracing to 175.53. I think structurally, we are in this down move on a whole. You know, we are in this down move, whether that be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and or Solana. So I think the easiest thing to say, I've said this quite a few times on stream, is it's a lot easier for me to say if we hit a certain area on the high end to see a move downwards, rather than predicting where our low is going to be and finding a reversal there. So obviously, same thing on a move upwards. It's like you don't know where that new high is going to be necessarily unless you've got previous price action. But it's a lot easier to look at the most current price action relative to the scope you're in, let's say 4 hour, and look at where the new potential higher low is going to be. So in this case, for me, it's going to be in this downtrend. Where's that new high going to be relative? I definitely think 175.50 could be a good target to aim for. 175.50-ish, 176 for Solana. I definitely think this could be a easy target to hit on the way back up, especially if we're hitting past some of these major lows on the daily time frames and major supports on the weekly. I definitely think we can go up quite high, and especially the seeing as though on the daily we completely missed equilibrium. We haven't got anywhere near the range where we need to go, so I do think we can see one more push upwards before we continue back downwards, same as we saw on Bitcoin. And this is what I'm interested to see as a person, just to look at the charts. I'm interested to see how it functions going forward into Saturday and Monday. Are we going to be seeing that retracement relative to, let's say with Ethereum, for example, we've already seen that equilibrium. We could see it print lower. Are we going to go back upwards relative to see, again, Bitcoin misses equilibrium, Solana misses equilibrium. The logical thing for me to say, just based on binary, is going to be, we want to see it go back again because we need to see it go past this equilibrium and then continue back downwards and print lower. So we'll see. Villain Bear is here. Bear is in the market. Balance stream is ended. Yeah, balance stream wasn't working. It just didn't work. Doing shots on the weekly. I'd look at the weekly. I mean, I'll look at the weekly right now when it comes to 175. And what I have on the weekly right now is that we have a massive support area and we have an area to target at 175. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see, Villain Bear, what do you actually look at when you look at the charts? I want to see what your method of analysis is. Bear is actually, he's in the market. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know you're a bit of a character, Villain Bear. I know you're not really like this. I mean, I hope you're not really like this. But you know, hopefully it's just a bit of a character. But I mean, you can have your opinions again. Obviously, everyone's allowed to their opinions. But you know, I think it's how people carry their opinions is really what matters. People can think whatever they want. Realistically, as long as it doesn't impeach other people. I think more so, especially with politics as well, it's like you can I think you can do what you want really until it really starts to affect other people. Do what you want, and I think that's really where it lies, especially with opinions as well. It's like the issues I have, whether that be with anybody on whatever political scope it's going to be. If you have your opinion, that's brilliant for you. I'm so happy for you. But if you're going to impeach this on everybody else and or impede this on everybody else and really start to affect other people's lives and or influence other people negatively because of what you think or what you want to do, I really just don't agree with that in the slightest. So it's really just about how you carry your opinion. So, you know, you can carry your opinions how you want, but, you know, I mean, hopefully this is your character. Add value, not negativity, tries to help and educate. Exactly. This is the thing. It's like, you can be negative and you might find fun out of it. I know there's a lot of people who don't find fun in what you do. And that's just what it is, really. It's like, if you can continue to do this, again, obviously we banned you from posting photos because it was just constant. And we don't want to completely Nazi you into oblivion and just completely remove you. Obviously, I know people aren't happy, and some people aren't happy with you and don't really want you to go because it's just like, you can have your opinion. But I just know not a lot of people, just want to really see you speak at all. And it's not like we've impeded that on you. You've done that to yourself. So I just hope that's not how you are in real life. And that's all I can really say. Good syrup now. So I'm happy with syrup. I'm actually really happy with syrup. I'm happy with most things. Again, what we've talked about, I'm pretty happy with majoritively. Again, I have a personal quest to solve when it comes to coming into Saturday and Monday in terms of stickler for equilibriums. I mean, 9 times out of 10, the most of every single time we've talked about an equilibrium, majoritively when it comes to any chart, it's pretty much hit into at least equilibrium, found that high or low, and continued onwards. So it's that edge case scenario, and most things in charts, it's going to have those edge case scenarios. Now, I'm looking at the daily, I'm looking at these wicks, I'm looking at a very weak move upwards right now. I'm not really looking at very, very positives. An immense rejection block is going to be occurring right now in 3 hours and 8 minutes and 37 seconds when it comes to the daily. What in the German did you say? What did I say which you didn't? Which was German to you? If you tell me what I said which was confusing, then I can tell you. I can say it again, or I can say it a different way. I know you're not English first, which is completely fine. So whatever it was you said, or whatever it was I said, just I can say it again. A bit, maybe like not as I do speak fast. I do understand that. So I think with Maple, what we've had is I have actually wanted it to come down, in the sense of I'm pretty happy with what we're doing, especially on like the 4-hour daily time frame. Again, I drew this on Monday. We did print that high, and I was saying this on Monday. That's the idea. I don't know. Okay, so what I was talking about, I'll summarize what I talked about. So I mentioned my political belief of you should be able to do what you want as long as it doesn't impede on other people's lives and affect people negatively. And then we were talking about Villain Bear and how he's just constantly negative in a very non-productive manner. And again, if people can be happy about what's going on in the market, and they say, I'm very happy with what's going on right now, or I got a good trade here. Look at this trade I made, or whatever. Or posted a trade. Kishan does this. Kishan is a brilliant role model to follow when it comes to that, because, he's just a nice person. And obviously KB as well. You're very educational when it comes to posting as well. If you are someone who's of the caliber of being able to look at the charts like KB, then you can go look at what he does. He posts in the chat until I go, and it's brilliant. So it's like it's either adding value or not negating other people's lives. And that's, again, where the belief comes from for me, where it's like, you're just being negative for no reason. And you might be having the time of your life posting that stuff. But it's the sense of, just posting for the sake of it, of going, really negative. Which doesn't really help anybody. So, and obviously, like KB said, add value, not negativity. So, yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about, really, in terms of Villain Bear. But, I guess that's it, really. I was talking about us coming down here. So we had previous. I did mark this green area out. I believe was the area because we had this this gap here, which obviously we did use. We came down. These words are not coming out properly. We had this here. I believe this was a support point here because of. I think we came past. I think maybe sort of the 4-hour here. We had previous supports. We obviously come from reversal from. I think it was the daily, wasn't it? It was something. I think I was marking this low out because of this gap, majoritively. But also, we had this low here. We came past some of these lows. We came really deeply into some of these areas. I think we had some areas here into this down close candle as well, because we kind of came into this gap where we printed here and came upwards. We kind of had this area here. Let me draw this a bit better, actually. So we had this area here, and you can see we kind of came to that midpoint into this wick here, printed upwards, printing above this candle beautifully, retracing back down into this candle quite nicely here. Obviously, didn't come as deep. Again, this was a very deep candle here. So this purple line, I believe this was a previous midpoint. So yeah, this was a previous support point as well. So you can see We have printed back above these highs quite a few times, finding that support. So you can see we printed back above this high, found support at that low end-ish. Obviously, we had previous reasons. It doesn't really matter. That wasn't a really exact print there on the weekly support. But we can see we can also use that midpoint there. But we had support regardless at least 41.5 into this area here for SERP. So we... regardless of what it was exactly, the main idea for me is going to be this gap area and this support here. So anything in this area is going to be pretty interesting at about 43 coming into 41. Now what I will say is though, is looking at the retracement, it's going to be somewhere about the midpoint of this area. We also have this, which obviously we're coming into finalizing. We also have this. So this is obviously a respondent off this area. We can see we had this obviously support coming from this area, boom, coming upwards, didn't really use it, came into it here, came back upwards, used it in here. This is a very common move I see where we have down close, printing above it here, and then retracing one more time into, again, of the body anyway, a good support point there. I can't help myself. Okay, maybe if he wants to clip syrup, I'm gonna try again. No, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just, this is a horrible stream. I mean, this is a horrible. Because I know the clips it's gonna get out of this are just not gonna be able to remove. And you know what? It's just how I speak. And how about that? You know what? I'm just gonna say the ums if I want to, and I don't care if it comes across bad and you want to cut it out in the short. It doesn't matter. No one cares that much. So you know what? I'm just gonna say it. We have obviously a support. We've used the support. It doesn't matter. So we will have a portion in this candle here. So we have something coming into about 41 as well, probably at the top end of this. The open here, mainly just looking at this range, which at least is towards equilibrium now. Obviously, like we said with equilibriums, it's a bit of a, shaky subject. 9 times out of 10, it might not work. Whatever, 95 out of 100. Whatever the rate is of it working. But regardless, anywhere below something towards 42.5. And again, the difference between Maple and everything else is it's really in this uptrend. I'm not really seeing that many coins right now in a decent uptrend relative to what we're doing on the daily. Most things are going down, but we see with SERP it's going upwards. And SERP has already hit it, into higher time frame targets down here. Obviously, it hit 28. I did want it to come to about 26, but obviously we didn't quite hit that area. I think we had something on the monthly though. We had this massive gap area coming into what we had here. Doesn't matter. Obviously, we had a previous supports here, which obviously we talked about as it was going on. Let me draw that from behind a bit better here. So you can see we had these previous 2 down close candles, print upwards, support into it, support into that midpoint there. So we did have reason to stop here. So we've already hit into well below equilibrium for the massive range on Maple. We've had that move upwards to the move low. We want to see it go upwards. Now I know what we have globally across the market. And you can shout at me all you want behind your screen. You go, oh well, everything's going down, this and the other, and I might be wrong. Brilliant, I might be wrong. That's fine. I'll admit that. But look at this chart we've had across pretty much what we've been doing so far, and tell me this looks like anything else really in the market right now. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, CRO. Those are the ones I really look at on the stream. This doesn't. You don't. I haven't. There's no uptrend. There is no uptrend right now in any chart really. There's nothing in Ethereum. There's nothing in Solana. Solana's massively dumping, Bitcoin's dumping, Ethereum's dumping, CRO is dumping, but SERP, it's in an uptrend. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, people who don't like technical analysis, it's like maybe it's just, I mean, it's just, this is what I look at. I mean, this is the only chart I've been saying I want to continue to go back upwards. SERP is the only chart on the long run I've been saying I want it to go back upwards. And I was saying this last stream as well, it's like, I feel, I don't know, unease, but it's like I don't feel right saying I want SERP to go upwards and everything else to go downwards, because it doesn't sit right in terms of, oh well, the market's going downwards but this is going upwards. It doesn't make sense. It would make more sense if everything moves in the same direction. But again, coins are their own beasts. So this is what SERP's doing. It is in this move upwards, and this is what we've been watching. This is what we've been watching so far since we hit this massive low. We printed past this high in here. Obviously, we haven't had daily resistances up here, but eventually in this uptrend, after forming it from this here, we've been continuing upwards. We've finally printed upwards, printing past the high of this. We're going to eventually see a retracement and continue higher past this resistance. This resistance eventually will turn to support and Bob's your uncle. But as we see right now, we've not really held a strong support up here. We've tried, we've failed, we've used resistance. We've tried, wicked, failed, resistance, continue downwards. But I don't care what we're doing right now, because I do want to see us come into this area down here. I do want to see us come into this area a bit lower, just a bit lower right now. What I don't like to see is this massive wick, tiny body, because this will be somewhat of a rejection block, and I don't want to see it have a fail swing. I don't want to see SERP do this, because that will just be over then. It just won't do its thing. It just won't go upwards. But again, this is a big support area. This has big potential. So I do think, regardless of what we do exactly, we could see support. Now, again, like I said, I'm very interested in seeing multiple gap areas being used, or the gap areas being used multiple times over. Again, it might just not be working. But again, we inverted this support. Maybe it could be used support again. Maybe it's just a buy area. Again, obviously, I'm still testing things. Again, I'm not perfect. I think life, what's the word Mike uses all the time? Continuous improvement. The Japanese thing, I can't remember what it's called. I'll look it up. Okay, let me find it. Let me find what this word is. Kaizen. How did I forget that? Kaizen. Obviously, continuous improvement. Nothing's ever fully perfect. So, just might as well be aware of the fact that you're never going to be fully. There's always going to be something to learn about. So you might as well be aware of that fact, and you might as well just continue to try and Kaizen. That's one. Yeah. So you might as well just be aware of the fact that no matter how much time you spend in a subject, there may be things again, there's obviously diminishing returns. There will be a diminishing returns of amount of knowledge there is out there for a subject. So there probably will be a point where you catch up to the amount of knowledge there is to be out there. But for example, let's say you're doing history. There's always history being made. There's always something to learn about. Tech, there's always things being developed. Math, there's advanced stages of math which are still, which things haven't been solved and haven't been figured out. So it's there's still areas in some of the most developed periods or developed subjects in life. Physics, for example. It's there's things out there which even the top echelon of people who are knowledgeable about this subject are still learning about. So most of these professionals who probably are more knowledgeable than me, physics professors, these people are so they know so much more physics than me, and they're still learning about things. So it's there's so many subjects of life, especially when it comes to charts. It's it's like a black box. You have an idea, you apply it, and you don't know. You might not know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. You might do, you might not. But price moves to numerous different sources which cause price to move. You have a black box theory, or you have a theory. You apply it in this kind of black box environment. And then the output is either going to be the rate in which it is successful, the rate in which it's not successful, how profitable it is, and it's just continuous improvement. It's okay, it doesn't work. Reiterate yourself. I'm yapping. I'm so yapping right now. Anyway, I don't even know what that came from. I don't even know what that came from. I don't even know what I was talking about. Oh yeah, the idea of it being reusable as a support point, or is it so much of an area which gets expunged? In the idea that we have an area of support. Again, we had a massive gap area. We wicked into a weekly support point. Again, confluence there. Are we going to be using a massive resistance area as support? Probably not. Massive reversal, resistance, cool. Came down, gap area, support. Again, area. Buy area, not really so much of an exact science. Came upwards. Came down again, buy area, maybe not, I don't know. Anyway, so again, I'm going to finalize this, go on to CRO, laugh at CRO for 30 seconds, and then we can end the stream. So we have 41.5. There you go. And then we can laugh at CRO here. Ha ha ha, look at this silly little coin. So yeah, I wanted it to hit at least a minimum of this low. We missed it by a smidgen. And you know what? I bet if I went on another exchange, we might have hit it. But we had the daily gap here. We had this gap here we wanted to hit into. We hit into the midpoint, which is nice. What do we really have, though? We had the high to the low here. We actually missed it here, so maybe we could have something similar. It's kind of looking like Ethereum here. We haven't quite hit past that low yet. We might see that continue to go down, same as we have with Ethereum. I could expect it to continue to go downwards. So, yeah, 11.22. I wouldn't really bother with CRO in any regard. Again, the reason of us moving upwards, I really think, was quite not external, because we were at 6 cent or whatever it was. We're down here 6 cent. And it's we weren't really doing much. Yes, we had these moves upwards. Yes, we were doing our thing, but we then had a move of all ages. We had this 400% move upwards, and it's okay, great, but why did this happen? And I think the chart can explain a lot of things. And yes, what I will admit with is, I did actually want it to come into this area. So whether it be because the American government was getting involved with CRO, or because the chart said so, obviously I did look at the chart. But you know what I mean. And to be fair, with this scenario, it was like, okay, well, we had this massive area here. We came. Did we print through this low? Okay, well, we'd actually technically print through this low. So technically, we had this previous low. We had obviously these previous lows. We printed through these lows, looking at the highs for a low. Obviously on the weekly time frame, this was so the most recent highs or low. We retraced into the gap on obviously the weekly time frame. So, and again, I don't think we're going to go to 4. I mean, we could go past 4 cents. We could actually go to past 5 cents. But the idea would be we see above the equilibrium, we find a lower high, we then go low. So yeah, I mean, again, I'm just not very positive about CRO. I don't even care. You know, I'm just getting the stream. I don't even care. I don't care what it does. I don't care. We'll look at it tomorrow. We'll laugh at it. We'll look at it on Saturday. We'll laugh at it again, and then we'll just do that on Monday as well. We'll laugh at it again. Yeah, we'll just laugh at it. I mean, it's not really much. I can't really say much. I don't really know what to say. So I'm just gonna move on. So I need to go to the intro and then back to this because Mike needs to understand when to clip this stream so we can get clips out of it. So give me 5 seconds. Okay, perfect. That should be good enough. So I can do my outro now. So that was pretty much it. Thank you. 10:06, my time anyway. So 6 minutes past whatever time it is for you guys. Obviously time zones, whatnot, but it's about. And I think every time zone's an hour, give or take. I'm pretty sure, which obviously should be right. So 6 minutes past whatever limit I had. Pretty not bad. Pretty okay-ish, I suppose. Thank you, all of you, for watching. Appreciate you all. Obviously, I know a lot of people drop off nearing the end. You know, they've got lives to go back to and whatnot, and they don't really care about Syrup or CRO, which is fine. So I think Bane got his reward. So shout out to you. Yeah, thank you for those of you still here at the end for staying here. 11:06, right? You see, it's give or take, exactly. So I think it's in Egypt, right? Okay, yeah, I think so I'm in Gibraltar. So again, each time zone's downwards. Is that? I can't remember long latitude. I think it's like long ways lat, maybe long latitude. I don't know. Whichever way is which. The downwards, vertical, downwards. The world. I think it goes in ripples because it's kind of like slanted the world, and it's like I don't know. So I think that kind of makes sense. A lot of people, I would imagine, a lot of places in Africa, or down into the African continent, would have, or maybe not towards the right hand side, as it tapers off towards the right, in terms of the south, but especially near the north. It would make sense that it was closer towards my time. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Thank you for watching. Obviously, 11:06. So I would imagine, maybe you might be going to bed soon. So obviously, have a great rest of your evening. Have a great rest of your Friday. I am recording tomorrow to do the interview, to do another interview, which will be good to watch with Ben, I believe, with the Crypto Army card game. I don't know. I don't remember the name of it. But it might be good. It might be a good interview. So I'm going to be doing that. Obviously, I'll be back on Saturday as well to look at the charts. We'll see how it goes. That's pretty much it. I might be in the Telegram 2 postings if something happens to anything. Good stream, mate. Thank you, KB. The thing's looking pretty cool, by the way. It does look pretty cool. It's very sleek in that little blurb area he sent earlier. It does look very nice. Good night, SNK. Have a great sleep. Whoever is sleeping soon, have a great sleep. Have a great rest of your Friday. Like I said, I'll be back Saturday. I need to end the stream. Thank you so much. See you guys. I'll give you access soon if you like. Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna have a look at it. Yeah, sure. If you want me to have a look, I'll absolutely. Yeah, I'll absolutely test it for sure. I have a whole new I have a whole profile on here with this smiley face just for your indicator and thematics, because I like to have parallelized. I like to parallelize it. I like to just do what I have on stream anyway. I like to look at it in the background just to see like the comparative. Again, I'm nowhere near actual stable in terms of doing it like actually professionally, but I do go over the PDF. I do have the what's the word for it? The playlists bookmarked on my browser. I do go through some of the videos occasionally when I get around to them. So I mean, again, yeah, I'd absolutely test it. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be very nice. Thank you. So yeah, sure, whenever it's ready, yeah, absolutely. But other than that, thank you so much. See you guys in Telegram. See you guys in Discord. I actually need to open Discord. I don't actually ever really have Discord open on my computer. I only have Telegram open in the background. But I know that Discord is something we want to potentially move towards if people want it. So maybe see them in Discord as well. So yeah, thank you all. See you guys next time. See you Saturday. Goodbye. bye.